Hi, it's Nicole. It's the middle of August. We only have 4 and a bit months left till the end of 2024. How are you doing with your reading and life in general? I made a planning video at the beginning of the year, sharing the 4 big categories that I'd like to focus on for the year. I also did a mid-year review a few weeks ago, so here are the titles I'd like to get to in the next few months. I'm keeping 3 out of the 4 categories: English classics, Shakespeare and his contemporaries, and drama. I have always been interested in seeing the context of individual literary works and how the early writing influenced later ones. Recent examples are my video on how Sheridan's The Rivals influenced and inspired Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, and another video comparing and contrasting Frankenstein and Poor Things. So in the next few months, I'm going to do some study on how fiction evolves and transforms over the centuries, especially from the classical period, which is the ancient Greek and Roman period, to the medieval period, and then to the English Renaissance. For the classical period, the most well-known ones are Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, both of which I've read already. So the next one I'd like to try is Aeneid by Virgil. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you might remember me abandoning Metamorphosis by Ovid. I'd like to return to it at some point, especially with such a beautiful copy, right? For the medieval period, I think it's high time to find out more about King Arthur, one of the most famous British mythical and heroic figures. One author who famously wrote about Arthur and his knights is called Chrétien de Troyes, Chrétien de Troyes, excuse my French, who lived and wrote in 12th century France. I haven't figured out why one of the most famous Arthurian legends is by a French author. Another author who told similar stories is the 15th century English writer Sir Thomas Malory. For the English Renaissance, I'd like to take up the challenge of reading The Faerie Queene by Edmund Spenser. I think what put me off reading it for so long, more than the content matter and the length of the book, is this book cover. I don't dislike her fashion. Quoting Kent from King Lear, "His countenance likes me not. I just don't like her face." Sorry if that sounds a bit rude. Why does the painter emphasize the bags under her eyes so heavily? Fortunately, I have the whole book of book 1 in my Norton anthology, my trusted Norton anthology, so I don't have to face her every time I open the book. In my mid-year review video, I mentioned that the 2 major titles I want to tackle this year were the Canterbury Tales and Paradise Lost. I've done the Canterbury Tales, but I decided to leave Paradise Lost for the time being and focus on the ones I just mentioned. You might be thinking, where is Nicole going with her reading? She's taking a weird and obscure path down the world of English literature. If I find any hidden gems, I will definitely report to you and share the treasure. I hope you'll still be interested to come along. Plus, I will still try my best to read modern classics if medieval and Renaissance stuff is not your cup of tea. I'll be reading and discussing King Lear and Cymbeline in September as part of Shaketember 2024. I don't think I'll be able to read more Shakespeare after that, so do join us if you can. I'll probably still watch more Shakespeare's plays, but will return to them properly in 2025. There are a couple of non-fiction books about Shakespeare I'd like to read in the next few months. Soul of the Age, which is a biography of Shakespeare, and How the Classics Made Shakespeare, both by Jonathan Bate. How the Classics Made Shakespeare is about how Shakespeare and his works are influenced by Greek and Roman classics. As part of my interest in seeing the context of Shakespeare's works, one of my goals this year is to read his contemporaries. I've only read The Duchess of Malfi so far, and it's brilliant. I loved it, so I'll do my best to read and watch Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe by the end of the year. I haven't got any shows booked for the second half of the year to watch in the theatre, though I would love to watch School for Scandal, Pericles, and As You Like It, the last one outdoor in Stratford-upon-Avon this summer. The photos look gorgeous. I don't think it's likely to happen, but you never know. That's why I wish it out loud. I made little progress so far this year in the drama category, so I'd like to make up for it by the end of 2024. One of the goals of having a drama category is to try world literature. I would like to try the Oresteia by Aeschylus, Hedda Gabler by Henrik Ibsen, and Faust by Goethe. The Oresteia is a trilogy of Greek tragedies written by Aeschylus in the 5th century BC. Henrik Ibsen was a Norwegian playwright and theatre director from the 19th century. As one of the founders of modernism in theatre, Ibsen is often referred to as the father of realism and the most influential playwright of the 19th century. I see his name in bookshops all the time and would like to try. Goethe's Faust is probably the most familiar between the three. It was written and published over a long period of time from 1770s to 1830s. I think it's about the same guy in Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, so it would be interesting to compare and contrast. I plan to try more radio dramas. Radio drama is a dramatized, purely audio performance. With no visual elements, it depends on dialogue, music, and sound effects to help the listener imagine the characters and the story. I listen to a lot of radio productions of Shakespeare's plays, and I trust the BBC to produce decent radio dramas. And they do it wonderfully. They produce so many titles as well, and the hard thing is to choose which one to listen to first. I'm also curious about how to adapt a novel into a radio drama, so I might listen to a couple of novel dramatizations with this purpose in mind too. The last category, the fourth one, is poetry. I don't have specific plans for it, which means most likely I'll be dropping it for the next few months, but I will return to it. Are you interested in any of the titles? If you've read any of the titles I mentioned and have any recommendations for helpful resources, especially for the ancient Greek and Roman classics and the medieval titles, please share with me. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.